Assalamu alaikum, sister. Thank you for writing to our live session. And as I understand your situation, you're suffering with obsessive compulsive disorder. So I guess my first question is, I'm wondering if you were diagnosed with OCD, and if so, are you in therapy? If you are in therapy and you've been diagnosed, you need to speak with your therapist and let your therapist know that the symptoms of the OCD are getting worse or they're not getting better, right? That would necessitate a different treatment approach, perhaps, or a clearer understanding on your part from your therapist of how to overcome the OCD tendencies, right? And a lot of times, when one has OCD, it tends to affect things that we are passionate about or that are dear to our hearts and we love very much. Like, for instance, you're experiencing OCD symptoms in relation to doing wudu and performing your prayers correctly. That's not uncommon. Unfortunately, a lot of people experience religious OCD symptoms and doubts, right? And that's because, the religion and performing it correctly and doing your prayers and making sure you're on point is so important to you that a lot of times when you have anxiety, which is, OCD is part of that spectrum, it does affect that. So please do speak with your therapist regarding this for a different treatment approach, or if you're on medication, perhaps an adjustment in medication. If you have not been seen by a psychologist, therapist, counselor, and diagnosed, I kindly suggest that you do. There's absolutely nothing wrong with seeking help when something is wrong with us, when something is amiss, when something is not functioning correctly, right? And I always tell people, it would be like if you had high blood pressure, correct? You would go to the doctor, you get medication, you would change your diet, your lifestyle, you may exercise more, or if you had diabetes, right? That would be, something that you would address. So it's the same thing when we have mental health issues, right? It's the mind, body, and spirit. We have to address all of them. And in this case, it appears to be your mental health status with the OCD. And there is treatment if you're not already getting it. And you're young, so now is the time to address it. It is treatable. And it's going to take, concentration. It's going to take dedication. It's going to take a strong will, right, to recover and to heal and to get through this. But you can do it. Millions of people have done it, and you can do it. As far as you're worrying about past prayers, I'm not an Islamic scholar, so you may want to check out our section called Ask the Scholars and pose your question there. However, I will say that Allah looks at our hearts and He looks at our intentions. And it's so obvious in your question that you love Allah very, very much. And you're striving and you're trying so hard, to do what's correct. And you're trying to, make up your past prayers and all of that. But just remember that Allah looks at our intention. He knows that we make mistakes. Allah knows that when we're suffering, with mental health, conditions such as, depression or anxiety or schizophrenia or obsessive compulsive disorder or whatever it may be, Allah knows that, right? And a lot of times, He doesn't hold us responsible when we're in, states of mind where, we can't think correctly or we can't get it together enough to complete something, okay? And that's what often happens, and especially like with anxiety or depression, right? Sometimes people with depression just can't even get out of bed. And Allah understands that, though. We're supposed to try and all that, but Allah does understand. He is most merciful. So I want you to keep that in mind. And with that said, I wouldn't worry so much about making up your prayers, but moving forward with the correct treatment for OCD, if this is what you indeed have, with the correct treatment, you can begin, to function and to feel comfortable and to know that you're doing things the right way for wudu. Okay? Once you learn something Islamically, then you're responsible for it. Some of these things in the past, you had misinformation or you didn't know, so you're not really responsible. So, sister, moving forward, I wouldn't worry about your past prayers. I would worry about now, currently, getting into treatment if you're not, or if you are in treatment, speaking with your therapist and getting possibly different treatment modalities or medication. And I would focus on just doing your wudu to the best of your ability, to your knowledge, and trying to accept it and move forward with your salah. Because, like I said, Allah looks at our intention and He looks at what we're capable of and what we're trying to do, right? He looks at our niyyah. So, with that said, just know that Allah is most merciful and that He loves you and that He knows what you're going through. And inshallah, with the correct treatment, you'll be able to get through this and the OCD will diminish or go away. And you'll feel so much more comfortable and you won't be suffering. The sad thing in life is that, a lot of people, they don't get treatment or they don't bother addressing these things, either out of fear or stigma or, they just don't want to. And they really suffer. And it's needless. You don't have to suffer. This can be resolved. And it's like they say, we trust in Allah, but we also tie our camel. Meaning we trust in Allah, right? But we also tie our camel, which means we seek out the treatment that we need to make things better. Or we take a route or make a decision that is in the benefit for us in our relationship with Allah. So we have Allah to trust in, we have His mercy, but we also have to do our part by engaging actively, in your case, in healing and getting treatment. So I hope, sister, that you are encouraged and that, you do, hopefully, inshallah, take some of these tips and advices and start to address this problem. You have like I said, you're young, you have a long life ahead of you, inshallah, and by addressing this now, it could save you years and years of pain and suffering. So please do address this with your therapist, or if you don't have one, please do make an appointment as soon as possible so you can begin on your healing journey to resolve this. We wish you the best.